For those of you who don't know me, I'm Joe Osborne. I'm the chair of the Finance Committee. And we're going to have a presentation on our mid-year budget and where we are financially as a church. I'd first like to start off by thanking the Finance Committee for the work that we've done this year. We've done some really interesting and some innovative work in terms of reporting and stuff. You're going to see where, for the first time that I'm aware of, we now have a report that shows us where pledges are for the entire year. So you can look ahead, you know, and you'll see what's going to come up in this first slide. But would you like to say a few words?
No, I thought I was supposed to open with a reading.
You may. I just didn't want to hold them up much longer.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was in a conversation. Hey, more intrepid people, Zoomers, hello. Let's just gather. There's always enough time for the right, what was it? Work. And there's a reason that people gather, and, you know, there's a purpose when people gather and find that purpose. And so here we are doing the right work in the right time with the right people. And I want to bless this gathering with the words of John Burens, who was president of the UA when I found Unitarian Universalism in the 90s. It's a Beatitudes for the church. Prayed to grow in spirit. Blessed are those who take seriously the bonds of community, who regularly join in celebration and learning, who come as much to minister as to be ministered unto. Blessed are those who bring their children, who invite their friends to come along, to join in fellowships and growth. Blessed are those who support the church and its work by their regular, sustained, and generous giving, who give of themselves no less than their money. Blessed are those who know that the church is often imperfect, yet rather than harbor feelings of anger or disappointment, bring their concerns and needs to the attention of church leaders. Blessed are those who, when asked to serve, do it gladly, who realize that change is brought through human meeting, who do the work of committees and stay to the end. Blessed are those who speak their mind in meetings, who can take criticism. Blessed are those who do not shrink from controversy, sacrifice, or change. Blessed are you all indeed.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So I was talking about the pledge report, and for the first time with the work of Sandy, our treasurer, and the committee, along with Jen, our administrator, and Camilla Johnson, our accountant, we now have a pledge report that we can look ahead and see where pledges are coming in. It was a blind spot that we've had that we're now filling, so that we can look ahead and understand where our income stands. First slide. So this is the big picture. This is our income look from July to December 2023. Our pledges have come in at $148,366.85 versus a budget of $167,978. Now this is where that pledge report comes in handy, because as you'll see, annual pledges will cover in the fourth quarter. We have 12 annual pledges that will come in the fourth quarter, totaling $50,000. So that balances the books on the income side, which is good news. Which prior to this report, we wouldn't have a view into when those were coming in. So now we have a better understanding of what that looks like. On the other income, we've actually done extremely well. The budget was $34,450. We've actually taken in $56,988. for. We're ahead of budget by $22,538. That number includes the legacy fund of $17,000 and it's actually a $21,000 employee retention credit. Our accountant actually found this for us. Camilla Johnson went out and she found that we were eligible for an employee retention credit from the government. She applied for it, and we got the money in back in September. So that's some good news. So there's work being done to improve the financial status of the church. We're looking at every nook and cranny that we can possibly find, any kind of money from. Any questions on this slide? Any questions on Zoom from this for this slide? Okay, next slide. This is a little bit more good news. Our expenses are mostly lower than budget. The grouping of programs and staff, that includes all of our paid staff and all of the program work that we're doing, separated out from property and administration. Our programs and staff are actually $36,000 under budget, ahead of budget, which is that's good news. Our property and admin, unfortunately, is over budget by $8,772. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One is that there was a building and grounds overage that we're having investigated. We just think it was miscategorized, that it really needs to be sent into major maintenance. So Jen's looking into that right now. We're going to see if we can, if that's not, in fact not true, which would kind of straighten this bit out a little bit, at least understanding-wise. The other piece was the telephone system. When we built this budget, we had assumed that a new VoIP system was going to be put into place. That has not happened for various reasons. Technical reasons, vendors not able to supply supplies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The good news is that the latest report I have is that that phone system is going in this month, which means the cost to budget should be eliminated, this additional cost with the old phone system. So that's on the expense side. Any questions on the expense side of where we are? Sandy.
I just wanted to make a comment, and you might repeat
Sure.
it up there, which is that you and I didn't know that financial statements were supposed to be posted.
Ah.
And
Up later, but we'll deal with it now. It just came to my attention last month and the whole financial team's attention that our finance statements hadn't been posted. And the last time it was posted, I checked back here when I was here in December. The last posting was October of 2019, okay, which is all pre-pandemic and everything else. And so we're flushing that down. The process we're going through right now is we just had a finance committee meeting on the fourth Tuesday of January. We brought in a December statement. We've reviewed it. We've approved it. Sandy, who's the treasurer, will take it to the board this month. When the board looks at it and they approve it, it will be given agenda to be posted in the hallway. And you will see that on a regular monthly basis. And if it's missing or it's outdated, I need to know ASAP because that needs to happen. Yes.
Hello? Oh,
Yes.
it is. Real quick, just real simple. What is the underage on the program and staffs about?
On the what?
Why is there such an under expenditure on the program and staffs?
People haven't spent money. I mean, it's basically that. I mean, people have been I'm looking at a lot of budget accounts that either people haven't utilized or they have utilized below their cost. So
it's been that way for years.
yeah. So I mean, that's good news.
Philosophically, you budget. You got it?
Yeah. Sandy.
I mean, basically, you try to budget expenses high, so you've got the money if you need it, and then people try not to spend because they know the
Yeah.
budget's got issues, so that's pretty much how it goes.
Yep. Any other questions on this slide? Yes. Right here.
Just want to clarify, was there anything else in building that you're going to reclassify as building and grounds, or is it just a telephone system?
No, no. Building and grounds, I think, is about $5,000 of this, and that's being looked at to be put in, charged to major maintenance rather than the actual line item of building and grounds.
Oh, the telephone, all right, thank you.
Yeah, so Jen's looking, I think she's going to work with Shelley and someone in buildings and grounds to get that resolved.
Joe, this is
Yes.
Brian. Just from the chat, just a couple of comments. David and Barbara Smith said, "That's great news, and it took nearly 2 years to get to that." Frankly, I'm not sure what they were referring to, but
If I know
I'm sure
David,
you
I think
know.
he's talking about the reporting of pledges.
Got it. And the other comment is from Brian Buck, saying, regarding financial statement postings, thank you.
You're welcome. Because that has to happen. Okay, next slide. So overall, this is how we're looking. Through December of 2023, our net ordinary income, that is funds from pledges and events, was a loss of $57,000 versus a budgeted loss of $58,000. So it's a little bit better than budget. The budget shows a net deficit of $82,000 for the year, which will be reduced to $61,000 due to an IRS employee retention credit for $21,000. In addition to that, if we meet all of our income for the year, we have a shot of making that not $60,000 but $40,000. So, fingers crossed. The anticipated savings due to the change in the phone service is delayed due to implementation issues. That target date now is February. So we'll stay on top of this. I'm pretty much in tune with Jen on a weekly basis, I think. So we think this is going to get going in February. Now this next item is kind of interesting. Southern Cal Edison came to us and said, excuse me, but we haven't been billing you properly for a while. So you owe us a whole bunch of money. And so we said, that's nice, we're going to appeal the decision. So we went in front of them, we appealed the decision, and as you can imagine, we lost the appeal. But we've got a negotiated price with SCE, which is going to impact us to the tune of $3,000 of expenses in this fiscal year. It's about actually, that's not fiscal year. It's $500 a month, so it'll be for over the next 12 months. It really won't be fiscal. And the last thing is we've had a successful capital campaign to build a fence securing our property, which is going to save us some money on security. So we can anticipate some savings at that point. So overall, it's a much better picture today than we had when we first started this budget year off, due to the work of a lot of people that, I'm probably missing somebody who did some really amazing stuff. Last slide. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go back one slide. Okay.
Clarify for the SCE building, the increased $500 a month for 12 months is for them to recoup what we didn't pay before.
Yes.
Okay. Will the bill going forward, how much higher will it be than what we
Yeah,
normally?
I can get you that data. I don't have the total number, but this is on top of our regular monthly bill.
Okay, thank you.
Which has been corrected. Now we can go next slide. So overall, we're doing fine. We could be doing better, but we're doing better than expected. Pledges and income are on target. Expenses are under control. As you can see, we're looking at, the Finance Committee is looking at line items very carefully every month to see where anomalies are occurring, and then challenging those anomalies and saying, hey, what's going on here? Our reserves are stable and growing. I want to take a moment to talk about our reserves, because I don't think they've been given enough credit in the past. On top of all of this, we have an investment portfolio that's valued at over $500,000. Now that is due to the stewardship that has always been a part of this church over the years. Those investments are in stocks, and they're green, what I call green ESG stocks. We don't invest in Mobil or Exxon or any of the nefarious groups that are out there doing things that we don't agree with. It's an account called Green Century Fund. You could look it up online and see what they do. There's also $100,000. There's over $400,000 there, and there's $100,000 in 2 CDs. So we have a significant reserve. Now that doesn't mean, whoop-de-doo, we can go do what we want. No, we're very careful about how we handle our money. And in fact, this year, Todd Collard and I, along with David Smith, started an investment review process every January, so that we're looking at, are our investments performing to our standard? And in this past year, we found that our investments in the United Church Fund were substandard. I don't want to get into too many of the gory details, but they had changed a website that didn't work. We couldn't get its statements. We took the money out of that fund and put it into the Green Century Fund, which was returning, I think over 5 years, something like 7% versus like 4% from the UCF. But the other piece of the UCF thing was the inability to get statements on a regular basis. That's just not good management. So we're carefully, and this year, Todd and I met just to see if we're going to make a change this year, and because we'd made that change in September, we decided there was no further need to make any further investment changes. And now to clarify that, make sure everybody understands, we don't do these investments by ourselves. These are recommendations we make to the board. The board reviews them with our treasurer, and then they give us the approval to do this. This is not a unilateral decision at all, or action at all, just so everybody's clear. So our reserves are stable and growing, which is the kind of the financial backbone. And we will end this year better than budget. So it looks to me like, with some luck, versus a negative $80,000 budget, it might be $40,000. And who knows what may fall out of the sky in the next 6 months, because we certainly didn't expect the ERC come in from the government of 21,000. So keep us in your prayers. Do I have any questions? Okay, we have some right here.
Just curious how many new members we've had since the start of the year?
I don't have the number of new members. Okay. Maybe, yeah, Reverend Dana might.
We are, well, I don't know which year, the start of this year, the fiscal year. Yeah, we are, the membership folks and I have revamped the membership process. We're going to have, by the end of this year, by June sometime, I think we're going to have something on the order of 10. We're going to have, 4 soon, and then some more. There was a bit of a back up in a pipeline, and we're moving them through. How about attrition? Cappy asked me about attrition. We're about to certify our stuff for the UUA, and it is about 3, I think.
Yeah, as far as attrition goes, Cap, I know that I'll get notified by Jen if somebody wants to stop their pledge or they've left. And just in my memory over this past year, I don't think there's been more than 2 or 3. Yeah, there hasn't been many, which is good news. Yes, sir.
No, Mike.
Mike, hang on.
Sorry. I remember from the first UU church I was a member, we were told that Unitarians have a difficult time in proselytizing. I think that's a part of our makeup. A question. Okay, considering Reverend Dana's service this morning and about all our needs for connection, since we have a problem, I do at least, of proselytizing, what can we do in our behavior, not only to help the well-being of our church, but to find people who might find some sense of connection by being a part of this. Thanks. Oh, I suggest next door maybe would be a site to have people learn of us. No, there are, I don't know.
I would, here, the theological response to that, theological and a little bit practical. I make a distinction. It's a real distinction, but there's a distinction between proselytizing and evangelizing, even though I know people don't love either word. Proselytizing actually means that you're trying to convert somebody. We do not proselytize because we're not trying to convert anybody. Evangelizing, I think it's a Latin root, and that means, it could be Greek, that means to share the good news. And sharing our good news, if you go into any interactions about things, not trying to change anybody, but just saying, hey, I found this really great thing, I don't know if that makes it any easier for folks. But I suggest you evangelize wherever you can, as often as you can, as comfortably as you can. And there are lots of things that we can do. And I've been thinking about this out, oh golly, Jim, is it okay? I'm thinking of something, I'm saying it out loud right now, and I haven't checked it out with the board or anybody, or the worship team. But in the past, we have had Bring a Friend Sundays to church. So because part of it, what it is, invite your friends. Said,
Member new. I became a new UU member because I ran into Lori Brown on Main Street and photographed her first campaign. She introduced me to David Pyle, who needed a photographer to do a Lift Up Your Voice, some panels, some photographs of homeless families. And it was through that activity that I said, hey, look at these people, look at what they're doing. I kind of like this. And our church that we were going to was kind of petering out. And I was like, this sounds like a pretty good deal. So, and here I am. So, it happens in many different ways,
Joe,
Yes.
I got a couple comments from the chat. One is from David Smith. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, well, Brian Buck first. Thank you, Joe, and all of the to you at church. And then David Smith, my comments were in reference to the payroll tax rebate we got, but I am also happy the committee has solved the pledge reporting problem. Thanks for your work and persistence, Joe, Sandy, Jen, and Camille. And finally, there was a question from Dory Luttrell Herrick. What is our membership number right now?
I'll let Reverend Dana answer that question. We need more microphones.
as I said, that we, all UU congregations certify membership with the UUA at the end of January, the beginning of February. And Jen is about to certify 213 members. Sorry. Jen, that has been steady the last few years. And pre-pandemic, it was about 20, 25 higher than that.
Thank you. I have a question back to the reserves.
Sure.
I've been very impressed how this church seems to handle its reserves because I don't see any of it being frittered away, which I've seen in other churches. So I just want to know, what are the constraints on withdrawals from the reserves?
Nothing gets, the process for withdrawing from a reserve would be a recommendation from the Finance Committee to the board. And then the board would discuss that, evaluate it, and then give us either a thumbs up or a thumbs down to go ahead and make that move. Gary? Yeah.
Joe, the reserves contain the legacy fund, is that correct? Or that separate number?
Well, it's within the overall fund, but it's not within, when the question was asked, I thought they were talking about stocks and CDs. I didn't know they were referring to legacy fund.
Well, they're referred to total reserves,
Okay.
but my question is, part of that is the legacy
Yes,
fund,
correct.
and it does have some specific requirements.
And I would hope the board would understand.
As long as I have the mic, I was going to I did a study of the reserve levels over like 18 months, and they varied from about 540 to 608,000. But on average, considering we've been operating on substantial deficits, we managed to have maybe a net change of $20,000
Yeah.
in all of our assets.
In fact, in the 2 years that I've been chairing the Finance Committee, we have not sold any stocks or CDs to bring money into our operating account. So I don't expect that this year. I mean, it's always a possibility, but I wouldn't expect that this year.
I'm sorry, I just got an iPhone, and I don't know how to close a document and open a new one. I keep on sliding back like I would on my. Anyhow, you were right about the funds. That there's a list of about 10 funds,
Yeah.
and then there's the general fund, which is the accumulation of anything that wasn't designated.
Correct.
And board policies and finance committee policies guide all of it.
Yeah.
And like you said, we don't spend money, essentially, the finance committee doesn't spend money, period. The board and the committee spend money, but that you can't exceed the budget by 2%.
2%, I believe, yeah. So we have
So
cost.
there's safe thing, and of course, very prudent people. Everything, they keep me.
Matter of fact, there's a proposal going to the board this month. We have a $46,000 cash fund within LPL who handles our green fund. We are recommending, and that returns at about 0.475%, which is very small. There's a money market account available that'll give us over 4%, and we're recommending to the board that we move it in there because it's still very, it's still very fluid. So we'll earn some more income on that.
We haven't used that much money in RE, we meaning, and we have not had children in coming of age or OWL, and that's quite an expense and then the older kids too.
Sure.
What percent of the current, do you know, of the current budget, or what's the earnings? Woo! What's the, what percent of the current budget has RE spent?
RE spend, I would say, let me do some a quick addition here. We got RE staff, which is a ballpark of 43 actual. And then RE children's programs, budget was 700. They only spent 376.
Only 700?
No, that's only for the 6 months.
Oh, okay.
That's what I have here. Hang on, let me just take a look and make, I didn't carry
So
over.
about half.
Actual and budget, so the actual, anyhow, that's in total, so you're talking roughly, let's say between 40 and 50,000 bucks for RE. Okay, that's really what, for 6 months.
Okay.
Okay, for 6 months.
And it'll probably go up when we do start doing OWL, and,
We'd love to
because
see
there's
that
going to be,
happen.
training's going to be needed.
Yeah, we'd love to see that
We
happen.
don't have teachers, if anybody wants to be an OWL teacher.
Anyone else have questions? Yes.
For our benefit, Joe, tell us again where the financial report is posted.
Okay, if you were to go in that hallway, right in there, there's a glass case. It should be posted. It's empty right now, so someone took down the old one, thank God. And thank you, Reverend Dana. And the new one will be posted after the board meeting, which is like, Jim, the third week in February, or it's third Thursday. So after that, that report will go to Jen, she'll post it. And like I said, if anybody doesn't see it by the end of February, call me. Don't even email, call me, because that needs to go up. Any other questions? Questions online? Comments?
None at this point.
All right. One last thing I want to say. The finance meeting is open to anybody who would like to attend. If you want to sit there for 2 hours and listen to us talk about numbers, you are totally welcome to be there. Everyone is welcome to just let me know, and we'd be glad to add you in. They are on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And if anyone would like to join the Finance Committee and warm the cockles of my heart, you are certainly welcome to do that as well. We could certainly use a couple more members if anyone's available. And with that, I leave you and hope you have a safe drive home. Thank you. Drive safely.